everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Kate Hamilton Health Podcast. So today's episode, I really want to talk about something that, I mention a lot and I don't think I've gone into an awful lot of detail on. I always talk about how I like to educate and empower people through health, fitness, and connection with self. Now, we talk a lot about health topics here, lots about nutrition, lots about exercise, lots about habits, healthy habits. So we talk a lot about health and fitness already, but I don't do a whole lot of talking in these solo episodes about the connection with self and what I actually mean by that. So that's what I really want to dive into a little bit in this episode. I've just thrown together a few thoughts and I'm just going to talk through what these thoughts are. And I have some practical steps then as to how to come away from this conversation with something practical to start implementing. So when people come to me initially, they come to me to get healthier or to lose weight or to get results, perhaps. But I hear it over and over again. I keep self-sabotaging. I'm not disciplined enough. I'm lazy. These different things that are being said. I can't stand the sight of myself is another one that I hear a lot. And it's the years and years of failed diets. And the years and years of failed diets takes its toll on our mindset, on our self-belief, in our belief that we can actually do it and get ourselves to a healthy, balanced lifestyle. And I'm not even going to get into the ins and outs of restrictive diets in this episode or of short-term thinking or, quick fixes or anything like that. That's a whole other conversation because that's not the purpose of today's episode. Today's episode is about the connection with yourself. That's what's missing. So if you're listening and you're someone who's gone from diet to, I've heard people say I've dieted for 3 decades, dieting, as we know, dieting and trying to diet feel just as hard. Only one of them you're actually making progress in. So if there's something happening on repeat that's stopping you from reaching your goals, I will put money on the fact that this is what's missing, your connection with yourself. That's why you're not getting results. So this is what we're going to get stuck into today. And by the time you are leaving this conversation, you're going to leave it with some practical tips. I think I've got 4 practical steps to take from it. And it'll literally change your life forever if you actually commit to them. This is what I do with my clients. And it's what I have done on my own journey as well. And just from reading a lot, from listening to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts, and from speaking to lots of experts on this podcast in different areas of health, I firmly believe that it's this connection with self that is the part that is holding us all back. So first of all, I want to talk about busyness. Okay. We lead these ridiculously busy lives. We're rushing around. We're rushing from place to place. Like when I think back to when I was a teacher, I felt like I was being dragged around by my life. Now I had 2 small kids and a baby, and life was busy. And I remember being at my kids' swimming lessons with my mother at the time. She came to help me because it was just so overwhelming. I had, basically 3 small kids. I remember saying to her, I just feel like I'm being dragged around by my life. I don't have a second to think. I don't have a second to breathe. And it was a real moment for me where I felt really, really out of control in my own life and like, holy shit, what am I supposed to do? And, and I felt very powerless. And it wasn't that I was ungrateful for my life or my children or anything like that, but I felt like I had no say in anything that was happening in any of my days. And it's that busyness, that constant more that we have to do, that I know people listening will really, really relate to this. It's all the things we should be doing as well. And I think back to the way I lived my life. I did things because I should be doing them. I brought my kids places because I thought I should bring them places. And obviously there's certain things that you have to do as a parent. There's certain things you have to do as a grown-up to pay the bills and to, go to your job. And, there are certain things that, yes, okay, we need to suck it up and just get on with things as well. But when I look back at the person that I was, let's say 10 years ago, I felt the need to do things that didn't necessarily align with my values, but I did them because I felt I should be doing them, because other people were doing them. And if I didn't do them, I would look like a bad mother, or I would look like a less successful person, or, and I think we all have things like that in our lives that we have in place, even just going, meeting people socially, or, getting involved in different activities that are just too much, volunteering to help out with the kids extracurriculars, and and all of this is great when you actually have the time, the space, and the capacity for it. But if you're already overloaded and you're feeling guilty because you're not helping out at your kids GAA club or whatever it is, or that you're not going meeting the girls every second Sunday when it's the only time you actually get to breathe, that there has to be a point where it's like, I have to stop doing things that I feel I should do, and just do what your responsibilities are. Absolutely. But do what you want to do, what's important to you as well. Like, I don't do that anymore. I don't do shoulds. And now, saying that, my whole life has changed a lot because of that. And it wasn't a literally like one day I was like, fuck this, and just turn my life upside down. Absolutely not. Like, it was done gradually. But now it's gotten to the stage with me where I'm so in tune with what is important to me, what is important to me for my children. And that is what I will do. I won't do things that I don't want to do anymore. Like, even when it comes down to like working with brands in this business, brands have reached out and, asked to do collaborations. And, there's very, very few brands that I would work with. First of all, because I don't want to be promoting things that I don't believe in. But even some brands that I've spoken to that I do believe in, and they wanted to control the content I was putting out and review this and that. And I was like, no. And it's literally like the teacher in me is like, fuck you. I'm like, I have worked for the man for long enough. I am not being told what to do. But this is just, sorry, as an example of how suddenly, for someone who grew up, as a very people pleasing child, always wanted to do the right thing, would have been afraid to get in trouble in school, cared very much what other people thought of me, always wanted to fit in, didn't want to stand out. That is the type of person that I was right up really until probably the past few years. And then one day, well, actually, I say one day, it would have been March 2020, when COVID hit, that all of that really changed for me. I think what it was, I know what it was that we were all, and we can all think back to that time. And I know everyone has had very different experiences of that COVID lockdown, but that time to slow down was hugely pivotal in my life. Because when suddenly that life that was dragging me around all over the place just stopped, I was like, oh, my only outing is I have to go down to Tesco now. It'll take 2 hours and I'll go around the long way. So, it's a bit of an outing. And that was all I had to do. I started training, pretending I was like an athlete or something, had my dumbbells, and I just worked out in my back garden, went out for walks, did my kids' homework, did the bare minimum that I needed to do in my teaching job at the time, got the work done. But what it gave me there was just really time to think and reflect. Who am I? What do I want? What do I want from life? And why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like I'm suffocating? Why do I feel anxious? Why do I feel so unhappy? That's what that brought. And I think that's why I'm very much now have turned into this person that's very, very aligned with who I am, what I want, what I stand for, what I believe in, what I will do, what I won't do. And as I was saying, fuck you to the man or whatever. Like, I say that in a lighthearted spirit, like I don't take life too seriously. I see my time and my energy as being very precious to me. And especially anyone who has a few kids will know that it does take a lot of your energy and focus, because it needs to go in their direction as well. So if you're giving your energy and your focus to other stuff that doesn't actually align with you, that you don't believe in, but you feel like you should do it, of course, there's going to be no time left for you. So slow down. Like, what did we learn from that COVID experience? Apparently nothing, because at the time, I remember the conversation around it was very much, oh, isn't this great? Like, this is the world telling us it's time to slow down. And when we get back out of lockdown, things are going to be different. Everything is going to be different. And it just wasn't. It was like It was for a while. People were working from home, and there was a nice kind of slow paced feel to things, and everyone was a bit cautious. But like, I was driving to the other side of Dublin there last week, and I had to leave at a ridiculous time early because of the rush hour traffic that morning. Everyone's back on the road, everyone's back in the office, everyone's back rushing around and super busy. And I see it. I see it with the people around me. I see it with myself, even. I see it with the women that I work with. We are just as busy as ever. So we've learned nothing apparently, but it's amazing how we're kind of, I like, it's not our fault. It's the culture that we live in, and it's not getting any easier. And then when we've got constant messaging coming at us from our access to the internet, our emails, our social media, it's just constant, and there's no fucking slowdown. And it scares me how quickly we've sped back up. And what I've discovered, and it's taken a lot of, I've had a very busy 2 years where I have started to feel quite burnt out. And it made me really just kind of reflect, like, what's going on? What's causing this? And I realized that all my unhappiness and ill health comes from rushing around. And when you think about it, it's true. When we're rushing around, our breath is shallow. Quite a lot of time we might even be holding our breath. We're so stressed out. Our heart rate is up. As I said, our breath is shallow. This is literally the opposite to being in the parasympathetic nervous system. We are literally in our fight or flight with our constant rushing. When we're rushing, heart rate's up, breathing's shallow, our body is stressed. Even if we don't feel stressed, if we're rushing, our body is stressed. When you think about any relaxation techniques like breath work, yoga, any type of mindful activities, it is all about deep belly breathing and slowing things down and being intentional. And when we're rushing around, we're not present. We are on autopilot. We are rushing. Even we think about like accidents, when we fall and twist our ankle, or we drop something in the kitchen, or, God forbid, worse accidents than that. It usually happens when people are busy, stressed, and rushing. So that's step one. Slow down. That is the first step. Now you might be like, Kate, what in God's name type of journey are you taking us on? I just want to learn about how to change my habits. I'm getting there, I promise. Okay. So step one is to slow down. The next thing that can be really hard for us to do on this journey is to face ourselves. Again, I see this with clients a lot. We do starting photos when we get going, and and I really urge clients to do those starting photos, because I'm like, you'll be so glad of them in a few weeks' time. And this journey is always so much more than the physical, but when people do come for results, those progress photos can be so powerful, especially when I'm trying to pull people's focus and attention away from the weighing scales and much more towards physically. How do you feel in your clothes? How does your body look? How does your energy look? So we do these starting photos. And for a lot of women, it is a really, really huge ordeal to get to take their photos in a pair of shorts and a sports bra or whatever for those initial starting photos. And I totally get that. And it makes me really, really sad as well when I read, the initial forms from a lot of women that start as well. They really, really dislike themselves. Like I said at the start, that saying, I can't stand the sight of myself, makes me so upset to my core. There are a lot of women out there that feel this way. Even to just look at themselves in the mirror, fully clothed, just to look at themselves face to face in the mirror can be really, really difficult. But we have to stop avoiding it. It has to be done. You have to start looking. You have to start facing yourself. If you want to make changes, you have to face yourself first of all, okay? When's the last time that you actually looked at yourself in the mirror? So this is kind of like the Mel Robbins thing where, she says, go look at yourself in the mirror, give yourself a high five every morning. And it's a little bit enthusiastic for me now, first thing in the morning, to be fair. But this really made me think, Jesus, I'm rushing around. I never just stop and just look at myself. So tomorrow when you get up, you go to the bathroom and you're going to brush your teeth, stop rushing around, stop scrolling on your phone, and just look at yourself. You don't have to look at your whole body. You don't have to even look at your whole face. Look at yourself in your own eyes in the mirror. And then silently, you can say it out loud if you want, or do it silently and just say good morning to yourself. Be like, morning, Kate. How do you feel today? And you mightn't have the answer to that when you're initially looking at yourself, but you've given yourself the focus to be like, how do I feel today? And take that question with you as you get on with your day, get your kids to school, get yourself to work, whatever it is you're doing. And think about it. How do I feel? So that's step 2. Face yourself. Just once every morning in the mirror, eye to eye, say good morning. How do you feel today? Once you actually start to give yourself a bit more attention, you'll be ready to start reflecting on your habits. I love this part, okay? When you ask yourself how do you feel, when you actually answer it, you need to start asking yourself why. So you might be like, how do I feel tomorrow? You'd be like shit, like feel like I've been hit by a train or whatever. So the first while that might be enough. You might just be noticing how you feel. And that can take, a few days, a few weeks. It does, like, there's no time frame on this. It's not like a strict, rigid, step-by-step routine. But eventually you'll start to notice a pattern. Do I feel like shit every Monday morning? Do I feel how, like, you'll notice what it is that you feel like, or maybe you feel disgusted with yourself, or maybe you feel okay, or maybe you feel tired. Like, there's loads of really strong emotions. All of those emotions are valid. And if you feel amazing and super proud of yourself as well, that's also one to not be ashamed of. But it's definitely time to start asking yourself why you feel that way. Start noticing what you do every day. This is where you're going to start to become the observer. And anyone who's done any type of reading around mindfulness, around meditation, will know what I'm talking about when I say become the observer. Okay, so the observer of your thoughts and the observer of what you are doing every day. Okay, so what we tend to do is we're on autopilot all day. And we're doing things, like, our brains are designed to do things automatically to make life easier so that we can focus on making harder decisions, or dealing with things that take more energy. So it'll automate a lot of stuff for us. The best way to be present is just to observe your feelings, observe your thoughts. Like, what are you thinking about? What happened in your day? What did you do? Did you overeat? Did you drink too much on Sunday evening? Did you, like, whatever it is, just become the observer. And then the next step is to reflect on it in your journal. Okay, now this might, people be like, a journal? No, but journaling is the most important step in habit change. Like, it really is. So it doesn't have to be a fancy one, but it is nice to get a fancy one, get a nice little pen and everything. But pen to paper. Okay, so not in your phone, pen to paper, literally 2 minutes at the end of your day before you go to bed. You can do it when you're sitting on the couch if you want. Like, you could make it like habit stack it with Netflix. Be like, right, I have to do my daily reflection before I can watch my program. Because if you wait till after, you'll get too tired, you won't do it, or you'll forget or something. Set a little reminder, a daily reflection, pen to paper. Initially, this might just be a recap of your day. Because remember, you want to be the observer of your day. What did you do today? Just bullet points. What happened? What happened today? Do a little summary of your day. That might be all it is. It might sometimes be negative journaling, where it's a bit of a rant. You want to just give out about everything for the day. Let it out. Get it onto paper. Notice it. Be the observer of what's coming out. Like, I've quite often, when I journal, or even when I prepare for podcasts like this and I'm kind of typing things up, sometimes I'm surprised at what comes out. I'm like, oh, wow. And that's okay. Like, just let it come out. But as you start to bring how you feel into it, start asking yourself why. So, initially, when it was a recap, and then you might be like, I had a fight with my boss on work, and then I did this, and then I did that. Why did you, like, so if you had like a binge eating episode in the evening time, why did that happen? Like, you might have felt a certain way. Why did you feel that way? And then backtrack it. So what you want to do is really just start to dig a little bit and keep asking yourself why. And that's when you'll start to recognize what's really going on. What's been stopping you the whole time? These automatic behaviors. If you're not aware of what you're doing, how do you ever expect to change it? Like, you need to be aware of it. That is just so important. And that is done by putting pen to paper. So that is step 3 in a nutshell. Start reflecting. Up until this point, you've been operating on autopilot, which isn't a bad thing. As I said, it's how we get on with things. If our brain had to analyze and decide and reflect on every single decision we made throughout the day, we would get nothing done and we would be exhausted. So it is a really useful mechanism in our brains that it helps us to get on with our day. Okay. But a lot of our autopilot stems from our childhood or our past traumas in earlier in life. Sometimes we might need more help than just journaling to help understand those patterns, to change them. And that's okay. Like I did at like in my early 20s, I did do a few months of cognitive behavioral therapy to help me with chronic anxiety. And I suppose the skills that I learned during that time I still use today. I don't even remember what those skills are. If you ask me to list them, I have no idea, but I know that it very much changed how I viewed the world. Sometimes it's not necessary. Sometimes people really can be like, oh, I've never actually even reflected on anything I've done. And that might be enough. Suddenly you're like, oh, holy shit, like my mind is blown. Whereas some people will be like, will be aware of it, will start journaling and digging on it, and it will get a little bit too much. And then it's like, okay, maybe I need to reach out and do a little bit of therapy on this because obviously our levels of trauma vary massively. It's just so important to know that it's okay to go and get help. You're not getting help as a victim. You're getting help as an empowered person to step forward with this further. But in general, if you find that with this reflecting, this is starting to work. I'm starting to notice patterns. I'm the observer. Now that I know what I'm doing and I have an idea why I'm doing it, now I can start to make changes in a step-by-step manner. Because what's really important is, when we look at these feelings and we look at what comes up, why does that habit keep happening? Why does that, I always keep going back to binge eating or, the planned workout that never happens. Like why, what is stopping you there? And digging deep on what is stopping you there. And then when you get to those limiting beliefs, it could be, I don't believe I can do this. I've tried this for 10 years of whatever it is. I'm afraid of getting injured. The feelings that I'm feeling are too much. I need to eat to help soothe them, whatever it is. What we need to do is dig deep so that you can face them head on, the monster under the bed. You need to go look at that monster under the bed so that you can sleep. It's the same thing for us. We need to confront it. And like I said, sometimes more help is needed to be able to confront, sometimes not. But we have to be aware of it. We have to be able to be willing to make changes on it. Okay. And that can take, with your limiting beliefs, being like, why do I believe that? Is it true? And start making a list of all the evidence of why it's not true. If it's not serving you and you keep believing it so strongly, like thoughts are only thoughts. Thoughts can't have power over us unless we give them power. And that's really, really important. So when it comes to this stage, when you're like, okay, I'm noticing my patterns, I have an idea why I'm doing it, I'm starting to build the evidence okay, just because I think that doesn't mean it's true, then you're ready to start making changes. And this is where we take clients out of their comfort zone slightly. But until you break that cycle, you can step out of your comfort zone all you want, but you'll keep being dragged back into that vicious cycle. So it's about stepping out of your comfort zone, but not to the point of overwhelm. This is where when we start a diet and we give up sugar and we're going to work out every single day and we're going to get 20,000 steps and, it's like over the top. And it's like changing my whole life. And it's not sustainable because you've jumped so far out of your comfort zone. You can't even see your comfort zone anymore. You are at the point of overwhelm. And when you get to overwhelm, then you give up and your brain will revert back to safety, which is what it knows, which is the same cycle that you've repeated over and over again. It's not your fault. It is totally, totally normal. Okay. So the trick is once we're aware of the patterns that we're trying to change, we take it one step at a time. And that is exactly what the Kate Hamilton Health curriculum is all about. The coaching curriculum is all about step by step what we need to layer in. And I know I've done an episode on the KHH curriculum, so check it out in relation to our habits. Okay. When on this journey, as we start to, add a little bit of daily movement in, focus in on our sleep, looking at our snacking habits, adding in a bit more protein, eating more vegetables, perhaps tracking our calories if you have a goal, a body composition goal, whatever it is that is your goal. It is so, so, so important that you know that it's not going to be perfect. You are going to trip up along the way. Like it's just going to happen. It's the one thing I can guarantee. Everyone's journey will be different, but every single person are going to have bumps in the road. It's part of the journey. So what's really important here, and this separates people who can actually move forward and people who get stuck is curiosity versus judgment. You need to approach this journey and the process of habit change and the process of, reflecting on what the fuck's going on with your vicious cycle that you're stuck in. You need to approach all of that with it being curious, with curiosity. Why do I? This is back to the why. And you want to be solution orientated. How can I try again and make this better? Like a child that's learning to walk. That child that gets, that toddler, they fall over, they get back up, they fall over, and they learn how to walk. They don't just give up the first time, say, I'm not good at that. I just won't walk. We need to remember to be more like a child. Be curious, be solution orientated, be determined, and just keep getting up. Each time you get up, you'll learn something if you reflect on it. That's all you have to do. Be like a scientist. This is not a perfect plan. This is your life. And, shit's going to happen. And if you can approach life and be a bit like a scientist, be like, oh, that didn't work very well. Why? Why didn't it work? What could I do different next time? And it doesn't have to be everything needs to be different. What can I tweak next time about this habit that I'm trying to put in place to make it a little bit more suited to me? That could be the time of the day you're trying to do your walk in. I've recently started going to the gym at 6 a.m. It's working like a charm for me at the minute, because I found if I got sucked into work or kid stuff, or if I had to have an appointment, or there's always fucking something with all, it's 5 of us in this household. There's always something. And my training would always get cast aside. And it took me a long time to be like, the only tweak that needed. I'm still surprised. I'm like, obviously, Kate, get up and train at 6 a.m. But it's a new thing for me because my husband always trains at 6 a.m. And up until recently, I had to be at home with the kids. But I now have a 15-year-old, so it's amazing. So this, these little things, and things will change over time as well. Always be curious. If something isn't working, like there's Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If it's not working, something's got to change. And remember, when it comes to that, like getting rid of that judgment, stop beating yourself up. When you notice yourself talking really meanly to yourself, don't judge yourself for it. But be like, oh, I'm doing it again. And then write down something that's positive, something you're proud of. That can be hard at first, but you'll get better at it. And you're going to retrain your thoughts to stop treating you like shit. Like, think, would you talk to your best friend or your child in the way that you talk to yourself? It is that nasty inner voice, that judgment that you're giving yourself, that's stopping you from actually moving forward. Once you have all of these down, you will be able to thrive in whatever goal you set your mind to. You really will. You'll be ready to introduce a new exercise routine or healthy eating habits or tracking calories or whatever it is that you've been trying to put in place. But you have got to stop fearing failure. Keep getting up like that child learning to walk, and treat yourself like a child learning to walk. And remember, it's your first time living life too. So it's okay to get things wrong and figure them out along the way. I know that was a little bit deep today, but that's basically my 4 steps. Okay, so just to recap, because that was an awful lot of rambling, and I hope some of it connected with you. But when I talk about the connection with self and, helping people to get healthier and fitter through connection with self, this is what I'm talking about. Step 1, slowing down. Step 2, face yourself. Step 3, start reflecting. And step 4, curiosity instead of judgment. Telling you, it will change your life if you can start to incorporate those 4 steps. And don't get me wrong, that it's not easy. Like, this will be the challenge of your life. But what's the rush? It's the rest of your life. So go pursue whatever goals it is that you want, but you have got to start approaching them using those 4 steps. And I just beg of you, step 1, start it today. Just slow down. When I notice myself, like, I quite often rush around the place and I'll feel it because my shoulders will get tight, and I know I shallow breathe when I'm stressed, and I'll get like a little like heart palpitation, and I'm like, okay, so you're rushing around again, you're holding your breath again, you're not, and I will physically make myself move slower, especially if you are more inclined to be a bit uptight or anxious or, go, 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 a bit like myself, it's something that you'll always have to work on. But once you're aware, once you're the observer, you'll be able to slow yourself down, and it will help you with the other steps. And all of those steps, like, they only take a couple of minutes. It's not like I'm asking for a perfect morning routine, but this will change things for you. If you found this episode helpful, I would be so, so grateful if you would share it in your WhatsApp groups, share it to your stories. If you share it to your stories, please do tag me in it. I always love hearing when people are listening to the podcast. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the podcast. It really does make such a difference to grow it. And thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate every single one of you. If you are interested in learning more about Kate Hamilton Health online coaching, we have a group coaching service. We take clients in once every month. So we usually have a wait list up until the space is open once a month. So if you head over to katehamiltonhealth.com, which is my website, you will be able to see all the information on coaching, when the next intake is, and how to get on the VIP list. Our VIPs always get a €50 discount off those initial 8 weeks. So please do make sure you're on that VIP list for the next intake if you are interested in starting our coaching service. All the information is on the website, and that is katehamiltonhealth.com. Thank you very much.